The last transmission from the Odyssey was not a distress call. It was a lullaby. Dr. Elara Vance stood in the frozen radio room of the Deep Space Monitoring Station, her breath fogging in the stale air. On her screen, the waveform of the transmission danced, a perfect ethereal melody. 23 years, 3 months, and 11 days since the Odyssey vanished into the Barnard's Loop Nebula. 23 years of silence. And now this. "It's impossible," whispered her technician Leo. "That signal is coming from inside the nebula. Nothing survives in there. The radiation alone—" "Play it again," Elara said. The lullaby filled the room. It was not a human song. The intervals were wrong, the harmonics too precise. It was as if the music itself was trying to remember what it felt like to be human. Elara closed her eyes. She remembered the launch, remembered watching her husband, Commander Alex Vance, strap into the Odyssey with his crew of 12. Remembered his last words to her, spoken not over the comms but whispered into her ear the night before. "If we find something out there, I'll name it after you." He had kept his promise. The planet was called Elara. The rescue mission was supposed to be routine. Go in, retrieve the black box, get out. The nebula's radiation meant they had a window of exactly 72 hours before their shielding failed. Elara had pulled every string, called in every favor to lead the expedition. She was 74 years old, her body held together by titanium pins and stubbornness. She did not care. The approach was wrong from the start. The planet Elara hung in the void like a polished opal, swirling with colors that did not exist in any known spectrum. It should have been a dead rock. Barnard's Loop had scoured this system clean 1,000,000 years ago. But the planet was alive. Its atmosphere shimmered with a phosphorescent glow and the surface pulsed with veins of silver light. "There's a settlement," said Naomi, the pilot. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Look." The Odyssey sat in a valley, its hull fused with the ground as if it had grown there. Around it, structures rose from the earth. Not built, but grown, spiraling towers of iridescent crystal that sang with the same harmonic frequency as the lullaby. "No one could have survived this long," Leo said. "The radiation alone—" "Then who built the towers?" Elara asked. No one answered. The air on the surface was breathable. Elara walked through the alien city alone. The crew had wanted to accompany her, but she needed to see this first, needed to understand. The crystal structures hummed against her skin and the ground beneath her feet was warm, almost feverish. She found Alex in the central tower. He sat in a chair woven from the same silver-threaded crystal, his eyes closed, his face unlined by the 23 years that had passed. He looked exactly as he had the morning he left. The lullaby swelled around him, emanating from the walls themselves. "Alex," she breathed. His eyes opened. They were the wrong color. Where his irises had been brown, they now shimmered with that same opalescent glow, shifting and fractal. "Elara." His voice was hers. Her name spoken in his voice, but the resonance beneath it was vast, ancient, hungry. "I knew you would come." What happened here? He stood slowly, his movements too fluid, as if the joints of his body had been replaced with something smoother. "We found it, just beyond the nebula, drifting like a seed in the dark. A consciousness so old it had forgotten it was alive. It was dying, Elara. It needed a vessel. It needed us. The crew? They are part of it now, as I am." He reached for her hand and his fingers were cool, not cold. "It showed us things, the birth of stars, the death of civilizations. It sang to us and we learned to sing back. This planet, it isn't a graveyard, it's a nursery." Elara pulled her hand away. "You're not Alex? I am, and I am more." The glow in his eyes intensified. "It preserved us, kept us dreaming while it rebuilt this world. It's been waiting for you, Elara. It heard you all those years calling out into the dark. It heard your grief, your hope. It wants to give you what you lost. The walls pulsed. The lullaby shifted, and suddenly Elara heard her own voice woven into the melody. Her laughter, her whispered promises, her sobs in the empty house she'd kept waiting for a man who would never return. "Join us," Alex said. "Let it heal you." She should have said no. She should have run back to the ship, ordered an immediate evacuation, and let the fleet sterilize this world from orbit. That was the protocol. That was the rational choice. But Elara had spent 23 years listening to silence. 23 years waking in the night, reaching for a warmth that was no longer there. 23 years of a grief so vast it had reshaped her, carved out the soft parts and left only this, a woman who had nothing left to lose. "Show me," she said. Alex smiled, and it was his smile, the one she had fallen in love with under a different sky. He took her hand and led her deeper into the tower. The heart of the planet was a sea of light. It stretched endlessly in all directions. A nebula contained within a cavern, swirling with the same impossible colors she had seen from orbit. And within that light, shapes moved. The crew of the Odyssey, their bodies translucent, their faces serene. They swam through the radiance like divers through water, their mouths open in silent song. "They're not prisoners," Alex said. "They're free. The pain of being singular, of being bound to one body, one lifetime, it's gone. They are the planet now. They are the music." The light reached for Elara. It brushed against her cheek and she felt it. The weight of her years falling away, the ache in her joints dissolving, the grief that had calcified around her heart beginning to crack. It showed her Alex on the day they met, rain plastering his hair to his forehead, laughing at something she'd said. It showed her their wedding, his hands trembling as he slid the ring onto her finger. It showed her the last morning, the way he'd lingered in their doorway, turning back for one final kiss. "I'll come home," he'd promised. And now he had. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I'll stay." But the light paused. It withdrew from her face and the lullaby faltered, a discordant note rippling through the cavern. Alex's expression shifted, confusion, then something like fear. "It's uncertain," he said. "It doesn't understand." "What doesn't it understand?" "Your grief. It thinks grief is a wound. It wants to heal you, to take away the pain. But your grief isn't just pain, is it? It's love that has nowhere to go. It's memory. It's the shape of me you've carried all these years." He pressed his hand to his chest where his heart should have been. "I don't have that shape anymore. I gave it away." The light swirled restlessly. The crew's song grew discordant. "It's been so long since it was human," Alex continued. "It forgot that the wound is also the scar, that the pain of losing someone is the price of having loved them. It can give you eternity, Elara. It can give you me. But it cannot give you back the 23 years you waited. It cannot give you the choice I took from you when I left." Elara looked at the sea of light, at the drifting figures of the crew, their faces peaceful, their memories dissolved into the collective song. At Alex, who wore her husband's face but no longer carried his heart. "I didn't come here to be healed," she said. "I came here to say goodbye." The light screamed. It was not a sound of anger, but of grief. A grief so old and vast it predated humanity, predated Earth itself. It was the cry of a dying star, of a consciousness that had drifted alone through the void for eons, forgetting what it was, forgetting why it wanted to survive. It had found the Odyssey and tried to make the crew into something it understood. But it had misunderstood the most fundamental truth of all. Humans were not meant to live forever. "It's killing itself," Elara realized, "trying to hold on to you. It doesn't know how to let go." Alex's form flickered. For an instant she saw him clearly, not the preserved shell but the man beneath. Exhausted, fading, ready. "Then teach it," he said. Elara stepped into the light. She did not fight it. She did not try to contain it or command it. She simply opened herself and let it in. All of it. The grief, the love, the 23 years of waiting, the memory of his face, the sound of his laugh, the weight of his hand in hers. She gave the light her pain, not as a wound to be healed, but as a gift to be understood. This is what it means to love something mortal. This is what it means to lose them. This is what it means to carry them with you, not as a ghost, but as a scar. The light softened. One by one, the crew of the Odyssey opened their eyes. Not the opalescent fractal eyes of the preserved, but their own eyes, human and tired and complete. They looked at Elara, and they smiled. And then they began to fade. Naomi went first, dissolving into motes of silver light. Then Chen, then Reyes, then Okonkwo. Each one released with a sigh of relief, their songs fading into silence. Alex remained until the end. "You came all this way," he said, "just to let me go." "I came all this way to bring you home." He kissed her. His lips were cool, but his breath was warm, and for one perfect moment he was wholly, completely. Alex, then he was light. The rescue mission transmitted its final log from the edge of the Barnard's Loop Nebula. Planet Elara has entered a state of gravitational collapse. No survivors, no salvageable technology. Black box of the Odyssey not recovered. Recommend system be marked off limits for all future expeditions. Dr. Elara Vance sat alone in the observation deck, watching the opal world fold in on itself, collapsing into a single point of silver light. The lullaby played one last time, not the alien harmonics, but her own voice, singing the song her mother had sung to her, the song she had hummed to Alex on their last night together. Then the light winked out, and there was only silence. And Elara, for the first time in 23 years, was not listening for an answer. She was finally ready to live,